This is the Unshadowed Thought Podcast with James Hall. This podcast is dedicated to Michelle Goyevich, Ed White, Caitlin Treacle, and I Chan, and also all the others that have lost their life as a direct result of psychiatric harms.
Okay, so today is what I had day 23. This is back to my prolonged water fast. So I broke my water fast on day 23. I talked about that a little bit. I think it was the last one. So I had day 24 is yesterday, day 25 is today. Just in relation to the water fast, but obviously it's already broken. I I had some fruit juice on the 23rd. I think I might even have had like in the evening, I had like half an orange and some watermelon like every hour after I broke my fast, to start getting stuff going back in my body. It was difficult. Like I had periodic panic for myself, and like my system was definitely in a rough state. I slept well that night. On the next day, got up very weak still. You know, the one thing that's not written well about in these books, literature, and the stuff that I'm reading is that, the recovery from this stuff is slow and a bit spooky and scary. Like, um, if you're experiencing bad stuff or you're really fatigued or whatever, like you're on bed rest, man. Like you're kind of, I mean, it's similar to being, I've watched people die in the hospital before, and it's the same thing. Like you're laying down, you cannot get up and move around. You cannot do stuff. You feel really, really ill, or you feel really, really fatigued or really, really disabled. So it's not like, I mean, yeah, so it is not a piece of cake. You do not walk away from this thing quickly. Um, and you experience a lot of sensations in your body. Like I was having panic come and go, different things like that. And it's really serious stuff. It, at least for me, because I pushed the limit. I'm not saying it's like that for everybody. I'm saying that there's a lot that's going on, um, that you gotta think about and be calm about and relax about coming off this thing. Like I know probably a lot of people similar to me have a propensity to panic or to freak out. If that's the case, like you have to have a good plan. Like when I was coming out of it, I'm like, I really don't want to end up in the hospital. I really don't want to end up in the hospital. So I'm not going to. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to stay here. Even if I die, I'm staying here. I'm not going to the hospital over this. But I would check my vitals, my pulse ox, um, my BP and stuff, and everything was fine. So I was like, I knew I was okay. It was just really unpleasant feelings and sensations I was going through as fluids and electrolytes were coming back through my body. Like felt a lot of different sensations in my head and my consciousness. Nothing too extreme, but I definitely extreme in terms of like it felt like I felt super fuzzy headed. Different stuff in that would come and go, and the panic and different things. Like I didn't hallucinate or anything like that, but I felt confused. Some of these signs of dehydration that you can get, or like a sodium deficiency, which maybe I had at the time. They come on strong, and you can't just get up and walk around or do anything. Like if you get up and walk around, you're going down, you're passing out. Um, you have to be really slow about things still. You cannot bounce back the way you probably want to, that sort of thing. So there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot of sentiment around that. And there's a lot of untold story around that. And a lot of people, I mean, there's a big oversimplification, I think, in the literature and talking and hearing interviews and seeing people. I think when people start to recover, they feel really, really fantastic after a while. And it really overshadows how difficult it is to initially come off the fast. So that's what I just went through the last couple of days. Is not written about well. I'm looking through the literature as I'm going, as I'm in kind of desperate spot, and there's nothing in there. It's just like, oh, this is how you break the fast, and like the guys that wrote these books are really robust. They have a good understanding. They're really detailed, except for when it comes to like the most critical patient experience part, I think. And I'm like, did they leave this out on purpose? You know, because it's ugly, they don't want to write about this stuff. I find that disgusting. And the notion's disgusting to me. But and also I think it's possible that people, you know, everyone wants a supervised fast. And I think it may be a part of why clinicians, you know, keep some things to themselves, right? It's like, because yeah, I'm sure not everybody experiences them, but by not sharing it, then they kind of keep the business to themselves or whatnot. I don't know if that's true or not. A lot of these guys are fantastic. I'm not going to complain. But here I am quasi complaining about it. I'm just saying I'm surprised it wasn't in literature. I'm surprised people haven't talked about it. Like, the recovery can be scary and difficult and problematic. And there's a lot to be explored and a lot to be expounded on about it. And I'm really, really disappointed that that information is not in the literature, but there's so much other stuff on how good it is and how well people react and all the good benefits from it and stuff, and concerns and things to watch out for, right? But for me, this is a very significant thing. I'm willing to guess I'm not the exception to the rule, but doesn't mean it's not true. So I was surprised on that. That was a big surprise recovering. That being said, last night, so yesterday, not that bad of a day. So I was I had some leftover panic from breaking the fast the day before, you know, a few times. But otherwise, if I was laying down and I was chilling out, I felt good. Like when I ate half an orange, everything was brighter and more beautiful, and sights and sounds and my experiences, my emotions, it was intense and it was wonderful and it was incredible. And everything flooded into my system in a completely different way than it had before. Since before TMS, since before my injury, I was experiencing things that I had not experienced. So there was a clear change in neurology when I broke the fast on the first day breaking the fast. Was I still experiencing like dizziness, fatigue? There's a lot of problems I still have are still here and were there at the time, but there are expressional and experiential things that did change that have not changed. And working out, eating good, doing all, like, relentlessly doing this stuff every day as much as I can has not moved the meter on that hardly at all over years. And I did this fast, and breaking it, I'm experiencing things that I haven't since before TMS, since before psychiatric drugs, right? Like, so I'll tell you the story. So last night, so I was having this mixed day. My body was still having this residual nervous system reactionality where I was panicking at times during the day, just because I can't go and eat food, even though I feel like I need to eat food to get myself back to health. I can't do it, right? So I'm just drinking fruit juice and having like small pieces of fruit every hour, you know, and you're treating yourself like a medical patient on their deathbed or something. So a part of your psychology is there and at that spot. So I got panic coming in and out, and I understood that. I had sensations in my throat that made me feel like I couldn't breathe. I was choking, but I was not. It was not happening. But I had sensations like that. The difference in bodily sensations and stuff are enough to make someone panic if you're not calm and you don't have the resolve to get through it, or you don't have a physician you can talk to about it, right? You have to be calm. Everything has to be calm. If like you have a bunch of people walking around you and telling you this or that or what, are distracting you or doing different things, you would easily have gone into the ER, right? Definitely. I would have freaked out if I couldn't calm down and rest and do what I needed to do yesterday. It would have been a bad scene for me. So I'm grateful that I got through that without more trouble. Even thinking about it makes me a little jittery. But if you do things the right way, you set yourself up, it's totally fine. It's not a big deal, right? But like so many other things in our lives, if we don't do it the right way, we can get in massive trouble. This is not a joke. You know, this is not a small experience. This is bigger than I thought it would be, especially around the 20-day marker. I thought this would just be like stuff you'd go through after like 40 days or more. But at the 20-day marker, this is like, it's a serious deal. So anyways, so that being said, but here's the thing. I was having these pains of panic that were coming, but they were really blunted and reduced from yesterday. So I was like, okay, this is not big. This is going away. This is on its way out. I'm fine. You know, I'd kind of talk with my family through it and just relax, and it would just go away. You know, not a big deal. It wasn't significant. And then when I was doing other stuff, like when I was eating and say I put on a show, or, you know, I did some positive stuff, I felt really, really good. I felt really, really good. But I also had some fatigue and some dizziness and some stuff, you know, I was fighting during the day, you know, your symptoms. And I think a lot of that's from dehydration and my body, lack of electrolyte and stuff, right? I don't necessarily think it's from TMS. I don't know. We're still really early on. I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how much of symptoms we're going to resolve or not, or worse. I don't know, but we're going to find out and talk about that. So I'm having these mixed experiences today, some really good stuff, some not so pleasant stuff, but after a psychiatric injury with either psych drugs or TMS or ECT, when you are emotionally blunted, you don't have good experiences. Every day is the same. You cannot experience emotion. You can experience fear and crippling anxiety and akathisia and all this really horrible stuff, right? That just crushes you. These are physiological things. It's, you know, it's not an emotion. These are sensations, like physiological sensations that psychologically put you in a horrible place, right? And the positive will not come in. It will not, you know, for many of us. Some people get a little bit, everyone gets different degrees, right? Since TMS, the vast majority of my time has been emotionally blunted. Like, even I've had some good times, they are really blunted and they're few and far between. Like, the best thing that I could do is have my friends come over or something and eat some really good food with them or something. And then I'll be like, oh, that was kind of fun, right? And that's the best I can do. It's the absolute best I could do. I was feeling good and I wasn't doing anything, just hanging out, like just talking. I was feeling good. Like, emotionally, I felt really good. And I was like, wow, I did really good today. I was like, you know, I'm bouncing back. This is good, right? But then I'm laying in my bed last night and you know, depending on what's going on, I'll put on a TV show at bed. So I have this TV show that I love. I've seen it 40 times, like each episode, you know, and I'll put it on, and sometimes like I'll just put it on it to fall asleep in bed because it's boring and I've seen it so many times, but it's positive and I like it. I'm watching it and I'm laying in bed and I got the most insane sensation. I was happy to be alive. I was happy to be there and watch this show. Why is that so significant? Because I've seen the show 40 times. I've watched it. That one episode I probably watched 40 times in the last, 5-6 years. After TMS, I've watched the show every single time. Not once have I laughed, chuckled, felt anything from watching the show. One, because it's repetitious and I've seen it a bunch of times. I know what's going to happen every scene. But two, I'm just blunted. I'm extremely blunted. Like, I don't really laugh or have much emotion for anything on TV. Some things I like, I find interesting, right? And some things that are really funny or really happy, I'll be like, yeah, that was a happy, fun movie, right? I say it, but I don't feel it really. It's just really slight. And right after TMS, there was absolutely nothing. But over the years, I built up a really slight, kind of emotional response, which I grabbed onto and tried to grow. I have not felt happy to be alive and just happy sitting and watching a show that I've already seen that I love since way before TMS. This goes back to before psychiatric injury, because I had TMS 4.5 years ago. And then like in the 7 years preceding that, I took psychiatric drugs that blunted me and damaged me, but I was still able to, my bandwidth for emotion was still maybe moderate, right? Like, at the best of my best day, I could experience half of the emotion that I had done before. And I thought there was something wrong with me. And it had nothing to do with the drugs, but come to find out it was the drugs. Like, they blunt you temporarily and permanently. Because I know, because I've seen it in so many other hundreds of other people now, and then in myself. And so I haven't felt that content with life since way before that. I mean, this is before I even had a stressful job. Have I ever sat and laid and been like, oh, I feel good to be alive. Like, I'm just happy just being here now. And that's it. It just came on by itself. I did not get to a meditative state to do this. I didn't do anything. This is what happened. And I'm just sitting watching a show. I'm just like, wow, I want to watch another one. I can't wait to see another one. So for some of you, you already know everything about it. Like, that's a really big statement. And my mind just started blowing up. I'm like, I can't believe what's happening right now. I can't believe I'm experiencing this. This is the best day that I can remember. And I know it goes back to even me being a kid. And I thought about it. How do I relate this to someone that's trying to understand it? And I'm like, this is how it feels. It feels like if you can remember back, or you can think, or you can imagine it, like you're a kid, right? And you go play outside, right? And you run around outside. You just go nuts. You get toys, friends, whatever, right? Playing outside. And your mom brings you an ice cream bar, right? And you sit down on the deck and you eat that ice cream bar, right? And you just relax for a minute. And you're just completely contented and full and brimming with the happiness and the joy of life. And it's coming out of you so much. You nothing to say, there's nothing to do, you're just there. And that's it. If you can remember that, or you've experienced something similar, that's it. That's where I was at. And for me to say that after extreme neurological damage from a treatment like transcranial magnetic stimulation and the use of psychiatric drugs, antidepressants, benzodiazepines, and other classes of drugs that have severely, changed the way I experience emotions in the world around me. It's 20 years. I know I haven't even come close to that sensation, that experience in 20 years. And I don't know how things are going to go. Like, I'm still dizzy. I got fatigue. I got these other symptoms going on. It could change tomorrow. But I'm telling you right now that that's what I experienced last night, which, no matter my very best efforts, extreme efforts in diet change and exercise stuff, this is not your couch potato efforts. Like, oh, I'm going to get up and walk around and eat a salad, right? Like, I've eaten and exercised and done things diligently for like years, like down to every single last bit, followed the letter of the law for like eating fruits and veggies and clean meat and stuff. And I've gone to a rancher to see where I get my meat, like to make sure it's clean. Some people are vegan. That's cool. Like, that approach, maybe it's more helpful. I haven't tried that yet. But I've gone to extreme detail and effort diligently, far more diligently than the vast majority of people that I run into out there, to get just a little bit of progress. But nothing has even come close to what I experienced last night there. So this is not an arbitrary thing. I've worked extremely diligently and hard to get to this spot. And that's where I landed with it. That's what I saw, felt, and heard through this experience. So I don't know how significant it is yet. I know it is significant because that's a big change. That's a really big change. And I'm interested to see what happens next. I'm really interested okay. And then the other thing was my sleep. So I slept really well last night after that. I didn't like just zonk out. Like, it took me a while to get to sleep, but once I was asleep, I was asleep. And when I woke up, I felt I had gone through a restorative sleep cycle. My body felt better. My mind felt better and clear. Everything felt better when I got up, and I felt like my body had actually healed. It's like a sensation. You know, it's like a feeling. It felt good. I have not felt that since TMS. I've had good sleep. I've had sleep where I was like, oh, you know what? I feel a lot better when I wake up. Never has it felt restorative, like I actually like healed or got better after. Never have I woke up feeling that positive since TMS. And again, actually, this is after like serious, diligent diet change, tons of exercise, stretching, all this stuff, everything I could think of that's natural, all completely without the use of drugs. And the sleep felt different. It was different. I had really vivid, crazy dreams, and like I had that a couple times after TMS. I had really vivid dreams, but you just wake up feeling the same crap every day. Because a lot of times after TMS injury, you feel absolutely horrible every single day you wake up. It's horrible. It's really hard to get out of bed because you feel fatigue, you feel exhaustion, you feel dizziness, you have balance issues, you feel nauseous, like everything, right? So I felt restored when I woke up. It was entirely different. So that was the other thing that happened too. And I mean, that in itself it's just a huge deal for me, a huge indicator. Again, what does this mean exactly? I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like in terms of like my symptomology changing in the future, but I know I can feel serious like neurological changes and processes happening, serious, neurological processes changing during this process and being seriously impacted one way or the other. As we go on, I'll continue to outline it and keep up with it. We really need to see over the long term, like what this impact was, how much it sticks around and all that stuff. But I mean, even if this didn't work for me, right? Even if I reverted entirely for some reason, or it's just what happened, it's significantly important, I think, in progressing and going forward. I had panic yesterday, but no akathisia. It was just interesting. I had a little bit of ACA during the fast and stuff when it was really hard and things were going bad. I mean, I understand it. It was really short window. It was really abbreviated. It was still a million times less than what I had been experiencing before my fast. Now, since then, I haven't had it yet. I'm fingers crossed on that one, right? Like, I don't ever want to have it again, but I'm having positive feelings where I could not have them before. And I'm interacting with my environment differently. I'm tasting things stronger. I'm smelling things stronger. Like our senses and my neurology are different. It feels like a hard reset on my nervous system. It's pointing to something really, really positive. So we'll see what happens. I think you can't do a prolonged water fast while you're on drugs. As far as I've read and I know, like I just don't think it's safe because your body's going to start absorbing them entirely different. And toxicity is a huge factor and danger. But for people that are harmed psychiatrically, that are off the drugs, that are trying to recover, I think this could be a massive, massive thing, especially if it was chemical and not electrical. The electrical changes in your body, okay, not trying to piss anybody off, just being honest. The electrical changes in the body, the electricity courses through your body, and from what I'm seeing, maybe is more of a physiological change and effect on the body rather than medications or chemical, right? I think it may be, and I'm not claiming to be right here either. I'm just saying this is what I've observed from talking to people, looking at people. But everything has its specifics and one-offs. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Medication, the harms I've seen from it are just massive. I'm just maybe more familiar with electrical harms now because of TMS instead of medication. But I would think people recovering from medicalized psychiatric harms, this may be really, really helpful for them, maybe more than TMS. Maybe with TMS, because I see more dizziness, more muscle issues, more of that kind of stuff, which makes me think of like physiological brain damage. More cells may be damaged because TMS focuses the energy in on the brain and damages more brain cells, is what I would guess, or I think anyone would guess from that. Whereas the chemical harms done circulate a little bit more, maybe they're a little bit more diffuse, but I've certainly seen just as much harm with both. Not trying to compare harms, but I guess maybe it's curiosity out of anything. I'm really curious if someone was off psychiatric drugs, was in acute withdrawal, how they would respond to a prolonged fast. It could be hugely helpful. That's just what's on my mind right now, is just thinking about that. And I want to share it because I think when I was on psychiatric drugs, the way I'm feeling better now was my primary complaint when I was withdrawing from psychiatric drugs. And with TMS, I have a bunch of other complaints like tinnitus, dizziness, fatigue, all the stuff that's still persisting at the moment. But I didn't have that when I withdrew from psychiatric drugs. So I'm curious whether it would be more effective for that even. Or I'm sure it would look different, but neither here nor there now. We'll see how things go. So I really want to share that, regardless of how things turn out or how things go. Maybe I revert, maybe I don't, maybe I continue to improve. I really think I'm going to continue to improve. I have really positive feelings and stuff. Like, things are very different after this fast as they were before. So I wanted to share that. I thought it was really important. We'll see who's listening. I feel this like maybe this is a gem buried in a podcast that no one listens to. Part of me think that's hilarious. If you are out there and you're listening, I really appreciate it. I think you should pat yourself on the back, that you actually, are paying attention, or diligent, or listening to the people that are out there trying to help and to figure things out and to get things done. Because at the end of the day, I figured this stuff out, and maybe it doesn't help me, maybe it does, maybe I've just spun my wheels, but physicians, clinicians, they certainly didn't help me. Not the ones I was able to see locally. I had to go and read the research of people and other physicians that other people think are quacks and stuff to try to figure out what's real and what's right. And you got to sort through the people that are real quacks. But I tell you what, the real quacks tend to be the ones that are just going along with the program and are like, oh yeah, I'll just do what everybody else is doing. I loathe that. I do not think that's cool. Like, even the good doctors that I have now, they go with the flow, and we explore all the stuff that I want to explore. And that's where the value is, like, that I bring stuff to these guys and we both put our heads together and figure stuff out to do. And that's extremely valuable, but even good doctors, they don't seem to be particularly compelled into finding really, really good answers for people, just some answer. And I don't think that's hard. I don't think that's easy. I think it's probably the hardest thing to do, and one of the hardest things to do. But as I go through this journey myself and I'm learning and growing, I'm getting all the progress on my own. And there's no one here to even help or even guide to, even smart answers, or like, this is smarter than that, this is less invasive, right? All that stuff. It's just not. Everyone wants to do some crazy stuff that I don't even see. Like, it's like the consequences far outweigh the risk if you're trying to like get on with your life and to live a healthy life. Like, yeah, if you don't care if you die tomorrow and are willing to be more severely harmed, why not take the risk on some of this stuff, right? But that's what gets us into trouble in the first place. And everyone I know is getting into trouble. We need to start working ourselves out. We need to take a serious risk management approach to be like, hey, like, I need to accept maybe some things in my life are going to suck so that I can move on, and my next generation can learn from my mistakes, and that we can stay happy and healthy and just stop harming things. Like, the single biggest problem that I see is that, like, the Hippocratic Oath is gone. Do no harm. That's the first one. Do no harm. Let's stop screwing things up. Just stop screwing stuff up. Because guess what? All those people you're trying to save, they're already screwed up. Everything is already jacked, and you're just making things worse. Like, people are going to have to accept how bad things are and just try to move forward in a positive way without the choice of moving backwards. But I mean, I got to be the only one saying this, right? Like, I don't see anyone else like looking at things this way, really. But I know there are people out there listening. I know people have been really supportive and understand. I know some people get it a little bit, some people get it a lot, but this is a huge thing. There's no way we'll escape the repercussions of what psychiatry and medicine is doing in our lifetimes. It will affect every single person we know in a very, very serious way. And to me, that's a big deal. And it's not something I wanted for my kids. And it's not something I thought my kids would have to deal with, but it is. Yeah. So here we are. That one's kind of exciting. Like the last one's probably a little stressed out. I think I'm going to release all these together just for funsies. And see what people think about it. Not that I'll hear anything, but I'm curious. So hang in there. More updates to come. We'll see how I go over the next few days. We'll learn a whole lot more. This is all like preliminary kind of stuff, but it did happen. This is real stuff. I'll never forget it. So yeah, thanks for listening. Have a good one.